So far, the experience of this first week of Donald Trump has been an awfully familiar one, a kind of sensory bombardment, just being overwhelmed by stimuli, unable to focus, a kind of total attentional domination. This has been Donald Trump's modus operandi since 2015. Through his own, I think, personal psychological brokenness, he instinctively gets that in the age we live in, the attention age, that attention is the most valuable resource. Get enough of it and you command fortunes, can dominate politics. And for that reason, you pursue it at all costs, even, and this is really important, even if it means courting, even embracing negative attention and conflict and hatred, millions of people genuinely hating you. It is not just Trump's dominance of our public life that makes us feel this way, though, right? This insistent beckoning call of the phones and the screens that lure our attention almost against our will is now a fixture of our interior and personal lives as well, down to even our most intimate moments. We're all subjected to a kind of dominion from the online platforms that were represented in person by the people who stood on the very stage next to Donald Trump at his inauguration. From Elon Musk's X to Meta to Google and Amazon to a certain extent beyond. The entirety right now of our private, social, and political lives is dominated by this ever more competitive pursuit of our attention. And those who wish to extract it for a value are cracking into our very minds to take it. That reality is the thesis of my new book, The Siren's Call: How Attention Became the World's Most Dangerous Resource. It is finally out and available for you to read today. I have a physical copy, which is very fun. The book I've been working on for the last few years centers around the idea that what we pay attention to at any given moment is really the substance of life. It's just about the most precious resource we have. When it is aggregated and pooled at scale over billions of users worldwide, it becomes a treasured commodity both for corporations and for politicians. And the mechanisms they now deploy with increasing sophistication, using our own biological wiring to compel our attention like the sirens tried to lure Odysseus, has created this signature feeling of alienation that I think is the pervasive mood of our times. A feeling that something should be within us and under our control is now outside of us and in someone else's control. All of this, I think, actually has really big implications for covering this Trump administration. I know there's lots of viewers and folks who are tired of paying attention to Donald Trump. I, having done it for 10 years, am one of them. But one of the most important lessons I've come to in writing the book is this, that in a distracted age, focus, its converse, focus is power. Focus is power. Having an inability to focus is giving away power. And that's easier said than done. It is something that, honest to God, we wrestle with every day, and we've been wrestling with for years, especially with Trump. Here's an example. I think right now it's safe to say there are things he wants people to pay attention to. For instance, the ICE raids that he is sending TV's Dr. Phil on ride-alongs with. And there are things that he does not really want people to pay attention to. For example, firing most of the government's inspectors general, top federal watchdogs, in the middle of a Friday night. No Dr. Phil ride-along. The fact of the matter is, as improbable and maddening as Trump's particular political success has been for so many reasons, he isn't omnipotent. He's not a colossus. The politics that he embodies, this obsession with attention, also comes with huge vulnerabilities. Because he's so obsessed with attention, because he's willing to attract a lot of negative attention and outrage and controversy and blowback, don't forget for a second that tens of millions of people find all of it utterly off-putting. He won the first time through an electoral college hat trick while losing the popular vote by millions. The second time he lost, even though he was the incumbent, and incumbents around the world were doing well during COVID. The last time he won, a fairly narrow victory. But he entered this term with lower approval than almost any other new president in recent memory. The popularity of this form of domination is not a given. It's defeatable. But it does require us to be aware and intentional about where we put our attention. And that's my job with this show, all of our jobs in this era, is to work to maintain focus and to keep focus on things that matter and to stay with them. And my promise to you is that that's the role we are going to try to play as we go through this chaotic maelstrom, in which he and his big tech oligarchs are attempting this omnipresent assault on our attentional faculties in public life and in every other moment in between. You may have seen me discussing all this and the book. I've been getting around last week. In the past few days, I was on Colbert, which is great, on Ezra Klein's podcast, and Katie Couric I talked to, and a whole bunch of people. In fact, in a new episode of my podcast, Why Is This Happening?, you can actually hear me read a chapter from the book, the first chapter, The Siren's Call. I did the whole audiobook, and you can, for free, listen. You just scan the QR code on your screen to listen to that chapter now. I'm also hitting the road for live conversations about the book. I'm really excited. For instance, Jen Psaki, my good friend and colleague, is going to join me for discussion at 6th and I in D.C. tomorrow night. There's still a few tickets available for that. Then I'll be with Lawrence Lessig at First Parish Church in Boston on Friday evening. And I'll be with the New Yorker's editor David Remnick at the Temple Emmanuel Stryker Center in New York on Saturday night. And that is just the start of the tour. There's a bunch of other dates. If you're interested in any of them, you can scan the QR code on your screen for tickets. You'll also find links to buy Siren's Call in hardcover or for your e-reader or as an audiobook I narrate. And remember, this is really important. You can always just ask your local library to order the book if they don't have it. Libraries are amazing. I hope to see a bunch of you in the coming weeks.